Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In this episode, I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is Utah is among the healthiest states in the nation. Our population is healthy. We like to exercise. We like to eat good food. We like to remain healthy, and by and large, we don't get chronic diseases as often as other Americans. That's all great news. But the bad news is, did you know the government actually subsidizes the bad foods that are available in our grocery stores? That's right. The government is paying sugar producers, corn producers, wheat producers to produce their products. Why is this happening? Is there a big, massive conspiracy going on to keep us sick as Americans? I don't think so. That's not really what it's happening. I'm going to go into some background, some detail. But before I do, I want to tell you, go out to Utah Stories and subscribe to our digital newsletter. It is, without a doubt, the very best digital newsletter you'll find in Utah to inform you about the most important pressing issues that Utah is facing. Now, there's a lot of important things going on. We are growing massively as a state, and you need a local independent producer to help watch out for your best interests. That's what Utah Stories does. We look out for what's going on with the environment, what's going on with our health, what's going on with our schools, what's going on with the massive amounts of building and growth, and a lot of the crony capitalism that's happening that's undermining our freedom, democracy, and the real estate prices and real estate opportunities. So that's what we get into. And also, right now, we've got it all over the state of Utah. It's our new Healthy Utah health and nature issue of Utah Stories. We do it every April. And, for the last, I think, 11 years, we've been producing a health and wellness issue. This one was unique because we delve into the health and wellness of the Great Salt Lake. So part of what makes Utah a great place to live is the Great Salt Lake. You look at this massive lake that actually feeds the clouds that move over our Wasatch Front, and the clouds absorb that moisture that's in the lake and then dump that moisture into our mountains. It's an amazing thing. And we're killing this freaking lake. They want to build a landfill at Promontory Point. They want to build an inland port in North Salt Lake near where the birds are migrating. They want to kill all the insects so the migratory birds don't have anything to eat. It's absolutely insane. So if you think these issues are important, go to utahstories.com and subscribe to our digital newsletter or subscribe to the magazine. We'll send you this for just $24 a month. Okay, so let's get right into it. Corn, soybeans, and sugar producers are getting paid by our government. Does that make sense? Tomato producers aren't getting paid by our government. Walnut producers aren't getting paid. Almonds, cherries, berries, all sorts of wonderful fruit that is so good for us, way better for us than eating corn and soybeans and wheat. They're not, those producers aren't getting paid. Why are the producers of corn and sugar getting paid? So at first, you think about this and you think away the so-called healthcare industry. I call it the sick care industry because it's really designed to keep people sick. Dovetails directly in with our food industry. And if you think in a conspiratorial way, you would think that there's a conspiracy going on to keep us sick. And I've heard that conspiracy theory. I don't think that that's what it is. And I'm going to point out why with some articles. But that we eat so poorly in this country and that the drug companies benefit so much from our poor health and that we spend more per capita on healthcare spending than any other Western developed nation on earth, it just makes you think there's a lot going on that's wrong here. And I wanted to delve into that. It's more of a national issue. It's less of a Utah story. But, as I said, the good news is we here in Utah are a lot healthier than the rest of the country. So let's delve into some articles, shall we? Let's start out with the Cato Institute. The Cato Institute wrote this article saying, candy-coated cartel. It is time to kill the U.S. sugar program. For decades, the federal government has been operating a program to control the production and importation of sugar. One of the program's main purposes is to ensure minimum price levels for sugar that are typically significantly higher than those found on international markets, leading to higher costs for U.S. consumers. As a result, the federal government is in essence the leader of a nationwide sugar cartel. So, I mean, the point of this article is that we're paying more for our sugar than we should be paying. But this paper examines how this situation came to be, providing an overview of the sugar program's history, its essential elements, and it will be shown that the program's overriding goals are the provision of a minimum income to sugar producers and a higher price for the product than what otherwise would be the case through the various measures that restrict supply. Wouldn't that be awesome if the government would guarantee your income as an independent producer? If the government would say, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to pad your salary. So in case you have a bad year, we're going to make sure you get more money. That's what's going on with sugar. They're getting a lot more money because that was designed to protect small U.S. sugar producers from international prices. And basically, it started here. This is what I find interesting. Protection of the domestic beet and cane producers cost the American consumers $300 million a year, even after the duties collected by the Treasury have been discounted. Did you know Utah and Idaho used to be major sugar-producing states? There used to be a company called UNI Sugar, and they would take sugar beets and convert them into sugar. But then what happened was they found they could produce sugar in places like Hawaii and Florida and in the, I believe, the U.S. Virgin Islands. And it was way easier to produce sugar that way. So no more sugar beets. Let's talk all about the Farm Bill and what we get from the Farm Bill in general. The farm subsidies. This is what I don't like. You know, basically a subsidy that would benefit small local farmers, market gardeners. Like we launched this magazine out of the farmers market. If there was subsidies going to market gardeners and local producers, that would be awesome. But you know who gets all the subsidies? The people who produce the most unhealthy food, the people who produce our corn and our wheat and our sugar and our soybeans. So farm subsidies are government financial benefits paid to a specific industry. And so grains obviously provide, it says right here, 80% of the world's caloric needs. Grains can be sorted and affordably shipped. And we obviously have tons of grains produced here because we've got places like Nebraska, Kansas, Arkansas, Illinois. These grain-producing states received 38% of the $7.2 billion distributed. And there's smaller subsidies for peanuts, sorghum, mohair. I don't even know what that is. But producers of meat, fruit, and vegetables can only benefit from crop insurance and disaster relief. So basically, everything is topsy-turvy. If the government was wanting to be in the health care business of basically helping us all be healthier, they would subsidize the healthy food, wouldn't they? Like walnuts and almonds and avocados and berries and fruits and vegetables. But instead, we find that they're subsidizing sugar and wheat. If I eat too much wheat, I get fat, I get diabetes, I get heart disease. It doesn't make sense. So basically, I've just been looking at this for the last 10 years that we've been producing this issue, and I'm wondering, why don't they even give people food stamp cards and make all of the healthier foods have a bonus program? All the people on food stamps, if they could give them some kind of paycheck or bonus program for eating healthier. Because what we find here, if you study the healthcare problem with America, I love the idea of giving everybody free healthcare. That's a wonderful concept. But the reality is that the expense of the program would end up undermining the quality of our care overall. If you look at the way it's gone down in Canada, Great Britain, we lived in the UK for a year, the overall bar of healthcare gets lowered if they give free healthcare for everybody. I don't think that's the best outcome. I think a better outcome would be to deal with the chronically sick and unhealthy. And I found this article from The Atlantic that goes just into that problem. So if you, what you find is that there are 5% of our population uses up about 50% of the healthcare costs of the entire country. So 5% of our country have chronic, just awful problems, diseases, ailments, where they're going into emergency rooms constantly. And they end up racking up bills, huge, massive bills. Most of these people are on Medicaid or Medicare, but this article points out a very effective solution to that problem. So it follows a guy named Rizzuto in Massachusetts, and he lives in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and he has a litany of challenges. His aides have to hoist his paralyzed legs from his bed to his motorized wheelchair and back again. They have to keep a bag that collects his urine clean. They have to tend to the gaping wound on his backside, which developed when he was left to lie still in bed too long, and help him avoid the panic that could claim anyone in his situation. And so he has obsessive compulsive disorder that drives him to try to want to do everything himself. But after more than a year of emergency and rehabilitative care following a devastating car accident, Rizzuto moved into a YMCA-run housing complex in a gritty New England town. But he was enduring constant medical emergencies. He was just back and forth in the hospital constantly. So that can cost in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, having one patient that goes in the hospital over and over again. They came up with this program in Massachusetts called One Care that focuses on the 5%. That focuses on helping assist these people with their medical needs. It provides 71 hours of aid support a week. That sounds like a ridiculous amount of support, but compare the cost of paying like 4 people $25 an hour for a week for 71 hours of care to the cost of $6,000 a day to have somebody in the hospital. It's way cheaper. So I'm a libertarian-minded person. I don't believe that the government should be in the business of solving all of our problems. But Medicare and Medicaid exist to help the poor and the elderly. I think those are good programs. They need to stay in existence. And I think if we had an additional program that focused on the 5% of the chronically sick people in our communities, that would be a great thing. I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but this program helped Rizzuto. It's part of a nationwide movement to improve care for people struggling with the complicated medical needs, the so-called super users, the 5% of patients who account for half of the country's healthcare spending. And then the big problem here, how do people end up chronically ill? How do they end up with chronic diseases? It's because they eat super poorly, or they smoke, or they engage in unhealthy behaviors. And so this is an article from the CDC just pointing out that preventative services, the use of them, is still extremely low. I'll just read a little bit of this article. Chronic diseases are a tremendous burden to both patients and the healthcare system. In 2014, 60% of adult Americans had at least one chronic disease or condition, and 42% had multiple diseases. Chronic diseases, including heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, osteoarthritis, and chronic kidney disease are the leading causes of poor health. So 1/3 of all deaths in this country are attributed to heart disease, stroke. So the problem here is they did a bunch of studies. They interviewed all these people, and they found out that most people don't want to engage in preventative care. Most doctors aren't engaging their patients in preventative care. There's just very little of that going on. Why is that not going on? Because the big food producers in this country make massive profits by producing terribly unhealthy food, and the big pharmaceutical producers in this country make massive profits by giving drugs to these incredibly unhealthy people. I mean, the two dovetail into each other so well, and they are so influencing our politicians and our political leaders and our medical community that the status quo just remains. But I think there's a very healthy mindset to think of in terms of our medical system. It is not a health care system. It is a sick care system. And as soon as you start taking medications to help with your chronic diseases, you suffer side effects from those medications. And then you start taking medications for the side effects of the primary medications. And then you find yourself in this downward spiral where you're treating multiple ailments caused by unhealthy eating and massively unhealthy drugs. And so it's best to just stay completely out of the so-called healthcare, sick care system, and do things like diet and exercise. So the good news, as I said, Utah is one of the healthiest states in the entire country. That has there's a few reasons for that. One of the reasons is that Utahns eat healthier food. They have higher incomes, and basically we engage in outdoor recreation to a great extent. I think that actually is the biggest factor. I think we look for our entertainment and our recreation in the outdoors. We have so much to do here. I'm always going to the mountains. If you follow us on Instagram, I post pictures of my dogs and me on our trail runs all the time in the mountains. And it's just what we do for fun. We go out and we play. And I think one of the most beneficial things we can possibly do is not look at health and wellness and diet like they're externalities. I think they should be built into our lifestyle. I think that we, on a daily basis, need to go out and walk. We need to go walk to where we want to go. We need to go running. We need to go engage with our community by walking around our neighborhood. We need to walk to farmers markets and engage with the people actually producing our food. And I think engagement with our community by using our bodies, not just like hanging out online in chat forums or trolling the internet, is a much better way to live. And one of the greatest things we did is we talked to a guy from Envision Utah and a guy, his name's Ari Bruning, and we talked to Soren Simonson, who's from the Jordan River Commission. We're still trying to publish that podcast because I want to show you some amazing shots we've been taking of the Jordan River Trail and our vast urban trail network we're building out in Salt Lake City and along the Wasatch Front, because I think that is critical that we have walking corridors, that you're able to go on a walk in a beautiful place next to a river, and you don't have to go into the mountains. Our mountains are getting totally overused already because we're getting so many people moving here who just want to use the hell out of the mountains, and I don't blame them. But we need to have more urban infrastructure for walking and biking. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of episodes. So stay tuned for that. And let me tell you about our sponsors. So with us for the second year in a row, Canyon Meadows Grass-Fed Beef. As I have said many, many times, I love their products. I love their briskets, their ribeyes, their roasts, their ground beef. It's all so much better than what you buy at the store. I'm serious. And it's more nutritionally dense. So if you're trying to cut calories but boost your nutrition and be healthier overall, seriously, go try Canyon Meadows Grass-Fed Beef. Go to cmrbeef.com/Utah Stories. You see that? Add that Utah Stories there so they know that we sent you, and you'll save 10% off your total order for home delivery or farmers market pickup. Our second sponsor is slcbikeshare.org. Go check them out. Go check out their stations and plan your next excursion into downtown Salt Lake City by riding tracks or front runner right into the heart of downtown. Don't take your car. Get on a bike share. Get on one of their bikes. Rent it out. Bike around. Support all the local businesses. You could go bar hopping. I'm going to point out the best place to go bar hopping to in just a second. But use their stations, their docks. They have 30 stations all over. I think there's actually 30 or 40 stations. But it's a really awesome program. They've got electric bikes, traditional bikes, and they are doing an awesome job. So, slcbikeshare.org, check them out. And when you rent your bike in downtown Salt Lake City, one of the very best places you can go check out is the Green Pig Pub. It is the place for the best parties in downtown Salt Lake. They have an amazing rooftop patio where you can view the Capitol and the beautiful skyline of Salt Lake City. And there's always a party going on in the Green Pig Pub. Check out their events page. Check out their menu. Go there. Go visit my friends at Green Pig Pub. I absolutely love these guys. It's always friendly. It's always a great set of people working there. Not super preppy or yuppie. It's just down-to-earth, great people. Blues nights, live music, all sorts of games they host. Really fun place to go. Okay, and with that, I'll conclude the program. I'll wrap it up there. So all I can do is suggest that you go to our one of our 700 locations all over the Wasatch Front, pick up our new issue of Utah Stories magazine. This is one of the articles featured in the magazine, a visit to Utah's largest medical cannabis farm. I wrote this story. I got to do this visit. Tyler, the owner, took me on a tour of their two 30,000 square foot greenhouses where they're growing thousands and thousands and thousands of plants to produce gummies. And I go into the whole industry, why there is a lot of hope in medical cannabis and in the industry and in the future of farming and in the future of it helping and boosting the economy of rural Utah. I think that's going to be one of the greatest benefits of this industry, because even if it ends up being it's a $5 billion, or it's going to be a $50 billion industry in the United States. If we just get $2 billion, if it creates a $2 billion industry in Utah, it's going to have a massive impact on our entire economy. And so go check out that story. And while you're at it, right here, go subscribe to the Voice of Local Utah. We'll send you Utah Bites once a week if you want to get it, and the Utah Stories newsletter once a week if that suits you. But either one, we would love to have you be a bigger part of the show, a bigger part of the program, bigger part of the movement, because we are all about supporting local Utah, supporting local farmers, and giving you the insight and the information you need to be a better Utahn and a better consumer, a better resident, and to have the interest and the knowledge you need to thrive in this beehive state. All right, with that, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rich Markosian, and I'll see you next time.